The starting unit for the Calgary Flames will be Priakin and Patterson flanking Doug Gilmour. And for the Red Army, it will be Kamensky, Bikoff, and Hamyatov, their number one line. An interested spectator at tonight's game, the former goaltending star of the Soviet national team, Vladislav Tretiak.
There's a player that retired before he should have, in the opinion of many people who have enjoyed watching him play. And there's another guy that played a lot of good hockey, Lanny McDonald.
Lanny McDonald had a rather interesting experience yesterday. McDonald was touring the Kremlin when suddenly and unexpectedly, who should come out to get in his car and depart? Mikhail Gorbachev.
I thought it was even stranger when Mr. Gorbachev asked Lanny for his autograph.
Tretiak and McDonald participating in the official ceremonial face-off here at the Luzhniki Sports Palace. Tretiak, a big star, of course, not only in the Soviet Union, but around the world. And Lanny McDonald is recognized almost everywhere he goes as well here in the Soviet Union.
I don't think there was a Canadian hockey fan, no matter what team he cheered for, that wasn't touched by the finish to McDonald's career. An important goal in the most important game the Calgary Flames have played, the one that won the cup for them.
So this game is underway. The Calgary Flames trying to make it a perfect tour through the Soviet Union. Doug Gilmour, who scored in overtime in that 3-2 victory over the Wings of the Soviets, shoots it in. Zubov plays it up along the boards, kept in by Patterson. Knocked away by Zubov. Zubov battling with Priakin, trying to get it out, and they succeed in getting it out before it's knocked back in. Viktor Tikhonov, only the fourth coach in the history of the Soviet national team behind the Red Army bench.
And you notice he's standing behind his players, and we've never seen a Soviet coach do that before. Tikhonov's been heavily criticized by some of the players who have moved to the NHL. In fact, one of them said if he ever needs a heart transplant, he wants Viktor's, because Viktor's never used his.
The puck comes out into the neutral zone. Bikoff battling along the boards. The Soviets take it back into their own zone to regroup. Hamyatov, one of the international stars for this Soviet team, back to Zubov. Zubov, long lead pass. It crossed two lines and results in a whistle.
Well, by the time you've played your fourth game in the Soviet Union and your sixth in Europe, you ought to be used to two things that are quite different as far as the North American team's concerned. One, the ice surface. I haven't heard the players even talk about it anymore. And two, to protect yourself against that long pass the Soviets do so well. And Calgary's done a nice job. They've let very few people behind them.
It'll be interesting to see how Makarov performs in this game against his former teammates. It was interesting when the teams were out there and skated onto the ice for the pre-game warm-up. He bumped with Bikoff. That was Bure streaking in. He has a great burst of speed. He's the youngster who played on the World Junior team last year in Anchorage, Alaska at the championships. Now it's Stelnov in his own zone. He moves it ahead to Fedorov. He played it in. Konstantinov could not get to it. It's pushed down the ice, some bumping and shoving. And Roberts and Konstantinov are involved over in the far side. The play is whistled down, and there is going to be a penalty.
Joe Nieuwendyke's going to get it, Don, for interference, I believe. He knocked the Russian player down, and the puck was nowhere near either one of them. And the resulting bumps took place. But originally, the referee had Joe Nieuwendyke for an interference call. 42 Makarov, and I think you have to be honest about him. He's in these games here in the Soviet Union. He's given us about 4 or 5 tastes of what he can do with the puck. But all in all, he hasn't been very impressive. His intensity's been almost absent completely, and his work habits are anything but strong. And he's going to have to improve in those two areas, or he's not going to be able to do in the National League what he did in the international hockey, because that's the one thing that he's going to have to get used to. 80 games, and the guys are working hard every night, and his teammates are going to expect him to do it.
Kravchuk behind his own net. Gives it off to Bure. Bure with a burst of speed as he comes in across the line. Has it knocked away from him. It comes to the line. Stelnov manages to keep it in the zone. Fedorov to Bure. Back to Fedorov. To Stelnov. The Soviets moving it around in the Calgary zone on this power play. Stelnov over to the other point. Kravchuk shot blocked by Patterson, but he can't get it out of the zone. Bure leaves it there for Konstantinov. To Fedorov. Back to the line for Stelnov. Stelnov with a shot. That deflects off Joel Otto and out into the center ice area. Joel Otto goes to the bench on the change as Terry Crisp switches his penalty killing unit. Doug Gilmour is out there with Ranheim. Gilmour breaks it up in the neutral zone, then lost it. Long shot by Batsayev, and that almost handcuffed goaltender Mike Vernon. And now some pushing and shoving in the corner. Involved in that one is Kovalenko along with Gilmour, but nothing serious develops.
Well, there you're looking at the back of Terry Crisp. And I don't think he said it publicly, but we've heard him talk about it 2 or 3 times. This isn't his idea of an ideal way to get your team ready to play in the National Hockey League, not too far from today. But he's making the best of it, and I would say that these boys, once they get home and get over the jet lag, are in for 10 days or so of pretty stiff workouts. That is the Flame players.
44 seconds remaining in the penalty to Joe Nieuwendyk. Gusarov over to Fimin. Fimin with a long shot. Vernon just got a piece of that hard blast and steered it to the corner.
That's 2 long shots that Vernon had to move quickly to stop, and maybe this team shoots more than the others we've seen in this tour.
Merzin and Fimin bumping at the side of the net. Fimin lost his helmet. The puck comes loose. Here's a shot by Ivanov and another save by Mike Vernon. He has been tested early in this hockey game.
Well, they've all been 50 to 60 footers, but they've been rockets. And I think that we may be able to cross out the word friendship with reference to this tour. There's a replay, and you can see through a maze of players, Vernon found it and hung on to it. Because this game has started off out to be a chippy one, and you wonder whether the Calgary guys have been on the road too long, and Red Army is not going to give them an inch.
Shivarev and Otto in the face-off circle. It comes back to the line. Malikin manages to keep it in. Kostitkin tried to get it out front to Chastain, who was going for the net, and it was deflected and caught by Mike Vernon.
Well, Vernon's had 5 shots, all of them long by NHL standards.
Nieuwendyk is questioning whether or not he should be out of the box. The clock indicates there's no time left, but the gentleman at the penalty box area said that final mark must click off the board before he comes out. And there he is. And it slides down into the Soviet zone. Nieuwendyk forechecking in there, manages to come up with it out front. He was looking for Mark Hunter, and it was broken up by the Soviets. Chastain with Kostitkin. Trying to get it to Kostitkin, and Al McInnes had him tied up. Chastain plays it back to the points. Malikov with a long shot that deflects over the glass and out of play. Have killed off the first penalty in this one against Joe Nieuwendyk. Bykov is checked. It's brought in by Hunter, but a teammate was offside.
You're looking at the new captain of the Soviet Red Army team, Alexei Kasatonov. 225th overall in the 88 draft taken by New Jersey. It's his 9th year in the league, his 5th with Red Army. 9 consecutive All-Star teams he's made. 6'1", 212. Lots of rumors about him joining his friends in New Jersey next year.
Kamensky takes a shot through traffic, gets it again. A backhander that bounces off McCrimmon. Theron Fleury going back of the Calgary goal, playing it around the boards on the other side. Zubov pinches in from the point, managing to keep it in. You talk about Kasatonov being the captain of the team throughout his career with Red Army. His defensive partner was Fetisov, now with the New Jersey Devils, and he is partnered with a youngster, just 19 years of age, Sergei Zubov.
Well, Kasatonov certainly has been a thorn in the side of all those games he played against Canada, and he's played an awful lot of international hockey. And if the Jersey Devils could ever get him over there and pair him up with his old partner, I wonder if they could spin their magic in the National League the way they did in international hockey.
Talking about spinning magic, the Flames are hoping this man does it for them, Sergei Makarov.
Well, he must feel strange playing against so many of his old teammates.
A battle in the corner. Bure trying to get away from Natras, took a swipe at it, and at the side of the net, they lose it, a backhander, and Natras managed to get his stick on that of Fedorov, and it resulted in a weak shot. Fedorov has it again. Long shot. That's gloved by Vernon. In the early stages of this game, Red Army has certainly dominated. What an open ice hit there by Kravchuk as he stepped into Muendijk.
One thing this Red Army team is showing quickly is that they're not going to take a back seat to Calgary physically.
Stelnoff at the point. Another good bit of bumping in the neutral zone as the puck is brought into Red Army territory, and the Calgary player is hurt. Gary Roberts is down. He bumped with Bure, one of the smaller players on the Red Army squad, directly in front of the Calgary bench. Bearcat Murray was poised and ready to jump over those boards, waiting for that whistle and an opportunity to do it. Watch this hit.
That's the one on Muendijk, but actually Roberts was throwing the check. He wasn't taking the body check, and it looks like he got hit in the head somewhere, and maybe he isn't quite sure what rink he's in. But he's a tough kid. I'm sure that we'll see more of him unless he's been knocked out, and then they'll probably take him out of the game. They have 22 players dressed, so it's not quite as critical, but I think he'll be back. He threw the check and got the worst of it.
5:33 is the time gone by in the opening period.
CCM 651 Tax.
Channel America and the National Federation present the High School Game of the Week. This week we travel to Paducah, Kentucky for a fierce matchup. Mayfield High battles rival Tillman High under the lights. For the best in high school football, turn to Sports Channel for the High School Game of the Week. Friday at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. It's live and exclusive only on Sports Channel America.
Players not dressed for the Flames tonight. Steve Gannett, the goaltender. Jonas Bergqvist, Tim Hunter, who has a bit of a Charlie horse, defenseman Ken Saverin, and of course Joe Mullen, who has not been with the Flames on this tour because of illness in the family. And long shot deflects high, and it's gloved and held by Evashkin.
This is the first game for Jamie McCowan, who came down with the flu just about the day they arrived in Russia. And I'm sure Jamie is interested in getting started, and they can use him. He played awfully well for them last year.
Face-off to the right of the Soviet goaltender, Mikolovsky. Brought out now by Kovalenko, working against McInnes. McInnes knocks him off the puck. McClellan gets it, can't get it out. Centering attempt, nobody in position. Erdina moves it out into the neutral zone. Rink-wide pass, broken up, and back comes Kovalenko. He's taken in against the boards again by Al McInnes. And again, McClellan gets back to try and knock the Soviet player off the puck. More bumping along the boards. McInnes and Kovalenko involved in a bit of a joust there as it goes around the corner to Joel Otto. Otto couldn't get it out. Fimin is sent flying. Good hit by Merzin. And McInnes starts that. A much more physical game than the one we saw the other night against the wings of the Soviets.
Well, I think one thing that the Red Army's done is they've awakened Calgary physically, because they're much tougher out there tonight than they were at any other time. Colin Patterson is going to get a penalty as one of the Soviet players is lying face down on the ice. Number 26, Kovalenko.
So this will be the second penalty that the Calgary Flames will be forced to contend with early in this opening period. 6:40 is the time gone by. The referee, Seppo Makala from Finland.
Well, it looks like it hit in the mouth. Here it is right here. Oh. A little of that elbow leather, I would say.
Kovalenko, one of the younger players on this Soviet roster, just 19 years of age.
6'2", 198. This Red Army team doesn't seem to be as small as the other Soviet teams we've seen on this tour. And the little guys play big by the look of it.
Makarov is out there killing off penalties. Here's a shot by Zubov from the point, and the save is made by Vernon. Back to Zubov, a shot loved by Mike Vernon. It was headed for the far corner.
Well, Makarov killed penalties for the Soviet team, national team, and with Patterson in the box, the premier penalty killer, Makarov will get a taste of the penalty killing. And, you know, in the National League, it's been a trend the last 2 years that you use at least on one of your two penalty killing forward units your better offensive players, and to try and take the edge off the power play. So we'll see whether Mr. Makarov can operate that way in this league.
Johansson is going off for Calgary. Double minors with Johansson and Homutov in the penalty box.
Well, now, you know, we've said this before on these broadcasts, but Calgary will play two skaters down, and the Soviets will only be one, as there's no such thing as coincidental penalties in international hockey.
1:40 remaining in the penalty. That was called against Colin Patterson. So it will be 4 skaters against 3. The man advantage belonging to Red Army. Konstantinov and Kasatonov back on the points. Kamensky to Bykov. Back to the line. Kasatonov over to Kasatonov. The Red Army captain to Konstantinov. Gilmore fan trying to get it out. Konstantinov with another shot. That hit Natras and goes to the corner. Joe Lotto bumping in the corner, trying to get it loose. Kasatonov back to the line. Konstantinov over to Kasatonov. Fakes the shot. Another fake. Into the slot area. They were looking for Kasatonov. Now Kamensky has it. He lets the shot go. Brennan kicks that one to the corner.
The Flames are using 2 forwards and 1 defenseman in this situation, figuring that they could use a little extra speed, I guess, out there. When you're down 2 men, size and strength doesn't mean much. Anticipation and quickness is a lot more important.
Bykov leaves it there for Kasatonov. He goes rink wide. It comes to Kamensky. Konstantinov to Kasatonov. Going in. He fanned on the shot. And it's dumped down the ice by Calgary with 29 seconds left in the penalty.
Well, Roberts got over his injury pretty quickly and is out killing part of this penalty. Anyone who knows Gary Roberts knows that he has to really be hurt to stay out of action. He's a tough customer.
Stelnov chases it down in his own zone for Red Army to Fedorov. Over on the wing to Bure. Bure takes it in deep, looking to the line for Stelnov. To the other side, Kravchuk didn't get good wood on it. Pavel Bure has it in the corner, back to the line. The penalty is over to Patterson. Over to the other side, and it bounces away from Kravchuk, but doesn't come out across the line. 8:56 gone by in this still scoreless opening period. Gilmore takes it away from Bure. And the double penalty is over. The team's at full strength. Fleury picks it up in the neutral zone. In across the line. Shot saved by Mikalovsky as it was deflected. And now Doug Gilmore skates in and bumps against Fedorov.
The referee signaling that the face-off is outside. I don't know why.
9:15 has gone by in period 1.
The Vancouver Canucks drafted him, and there's some question is whether that was a legal choice. His age is right, but when you draft a kid 18, he has to have played 2 years of junior equivalent. And they don't know whether Bure has. So that has to be checked by the league.
Delayed penalty call. Scoring opportunity for Jamie McCowan, who raced in to take that pass. The delayed penalty call against the Soviets. And I believe it will be Kostichkin who will be going off.
Well, this referee, I think, realizes now, if he didn't know before, that this game has shown quite a bit of bitterness. And he looks like he's trying to lay the law down as far as stick work's concerned. There was the good chance, the only good one Calgary's had today.
Kostichkin, a draft choice of the Winnipeg Jets in 1988. He played in both the 87 and 88 World Junior Championships.
Well, the Calgary power play last year in the National Hockey League was second. And they scored 61 power play goals in the Saddle Dome. The Toronto Maple Leafs only scored 56 in all the rinks they played in. So Calgary won a lot of games with their special teams.
Makarov to Hrdina. Back to Makarov. Makarov tried to fire it into the slot area. Went off a skate, comes back to the line to Al McInnes. McInnes with a long shot. He was looking for Makarov, positioned at the side of the net. It was deflected past him. It's fired around the boards and down the ice. Vernon has to come out of the net to play it with Chastain racing in there, trying to pick up that puck on the clearing attempt by the Soviets. Now Makarov, anticipating the pass, broke it up in the neutral zone. He couldn't go anywhere with it, but Al McInnes manages to bring it in. McInnes is checked. And it's dumped ahead to Chastain. He gets away, or tried to, from Makarov, but Makarov took the puck from him. And then Nieuwendyk steps into Chastain right in front of the Calgary bench.
Joe Nieuwendyk, I don't know whether he had a bad night's sleep last night, but he's been a little ornery out there tonight.
Maybe that hamburger we saw him eating yesterday disagreed with him. Hunter with a shot. He hit the side of the post. Hrdina bumped in the corner, trying to get it free. Fleury is out there as well. He's spun around. They continue the battle along the boards. 30 seconds remaining in the penalty. Red Army clears the zone.
Well, with reference to your remark about the hamburger, Hunter and Nieuwendyk had smiles right across their faces. They found a hamburger joint near our hotel.
Honyatsov intercepting a pass. Gets it over to the other side. Zubov. Zubov trying to move in. There's the quick shot. Just wide of the net. Mark Hunter starts back. 5 seconds left in the penalty. Crossing with Joel Otto. Otto with a quick shot, just missing the far corner. Suter fires it wide. Picked up along the boards. Bikov can't get out. Now it comes out to the neutral zone as the penalty is over. The Soviets back at full strength. Kasatonov back in his own zone. He gives it to Bure. Bure up on the left side to Fedorov. Fedorov dropping it for Bure. Quick shot, and Vernon deflected that high over top of the net up against the glass. Here comes Calgary. This is Roberts. It's offside. Stelnov bumps with him. Then Konstantinov bumps with him after he let that shot go.
They're upset with him, Don, because the Soviet players think that Roberts shot the puck after the whistle. Gary Suter, last year 62 points in the 63 games he played, and he had a terrible time staying healthy and got only to play about 3 playoff games in the first round and had to watch his teammates win the Stanley Cup. I'm sure he enjoyed it, but not as much as if he was playing.
He must feel he's somewhat jinxed. The 2 years that the Flames have been in the Stanley Cup final, he's been out with injury. From the faceoff, Stelnov in his own zone over to Kravchuk. Lead pass to Fedorov. Fedorov with Bure. Drop pass for Bure. Puck was up on edge as he fired it wide. Gilmore moves that puck into the neutral zone to McCowan. Now to Priakin. And the Soviets gain control and fire at the length of the ice. McCowan going back to touch it for an icing call against Red Army at 12:38 of the first period.
Well, the Red Army team was first in the league last year with 23 wins and only 8 losses and 5 ties and 51 points. This year they are presently third. After 6 games, they've won 4 and lost 2. So they're not going to run away with it this year the way they have most other years.
Otto in the face-off circle for Calgary against Shibarev. Shibarev starts out with it. Kostichkin on the right side. Trying to get around Merzin. Broken up. And it comes back into the center ice area. Malikoff forced back by Joel Otto. The Soviet defenseman tried a lead pass into the neutral zone. It was broken up by McClellan. They'll try and get it out again. Shibarev manages to get it out of there, but Merzin grabs that puck to Otto. His pass intended for McClellan, intercepted by Malikoff. Now, it's Malikoff for Chastain. Chastain is upset by Johansson. And the puck picked up by Merzin. Back to Johansson. He's been one of the better Calgary defensemen on this tour. In fact, he might have been the most consistent performer back in the blue line in all 5 games that they have played. 2 in Czechoslovakia, 3 in the Soviet Union.
Well, he's making headway at making this team. I know the coaching staff is very happy the way he's played in Europe, and they're hoping on the smaller rink in North America that he can play just as well.
Ranheim knocked off the puck. Back comes Ivanov. Long shot up high on Vernon. He drops it at the side of the net for Suter. We have 6 minutes remaining in this still scoreless opening period. Fleury being chased by Batsayev as he fires it in, and Fleury is then dumped. And there's a penalty coming up against Batsayev. Or is it Kovalenko?
He tried to hit Fleury, and then he gave him the stick as he left after he ran into him. And the stick work here in the first period has been pretty nasty, I would say. A lot of the fellas went to the... Watch it in the top of your screen. A lot of the people came on Sunday afternoon and watched Moscow Dynamo play Red Army, and they said it was a fierce game as far as the high sticking was concerned. And I'm not saying that Calgary's not doing their share, but it's a mean game. This friendship adjective I don't think is quite apropos tonight.
The Calgary coaching staff had an interesting day yesterday. They had lunch with Anatoly Tarasov, the father of Soviet hockey.
And you know who he said were the best 2 Soviet players in Russian hockey history. People in the National League will be able to see both of them. Mr. Krutov for Vancouver and Mr. Makarov.
And they'll be able to listen to the man he described as the best coach ever in the National Hockey League, Scotty Bowman.
Well, we all knew that Scotty Bowman was the best coach. So
I thought he was going to say Harry Neal.
I don't think that we can give Tarasov any marks for being a genius picking Bowman as the best coach. Bowman has made that pretty obvious to everyone.
Zubov playing it around the boards, but kept in at the point by Suter. Here's McInnes. He won't get an opportunity to wind up. Lets the shot go, knocked down in front of the net. Kasatonov flips it up high. It goes over the glass and out of play.
One thing I've noticed in these games, this being the 4th one in Russia, we haven't seen Al McInnes get away but 1 or 2 of his real hard shots from the point. And you have to wonder whether the Soviets, who know a lot more about the NHL than the NHL players do about the Soviet League, that on all the scouting reports, they had a big circle around number 2 and said, don't let this guy have a step off the blue line to let that big shot go. And we haven't seen it.
Makarov into the slot area for Hunter, and Hunter was tied up. McInnes, a wrist shot wide of the net. Makarov goes back to the point as Suter pinches in. Zubov gains control. He fires it down the ice.
Kasatonov was tossing Mark Hunter around. 212 pounds that guy weighs.
1 minute remaining in the penalty. And as McInnes brought it in, a Calgary player is offside.
The Russian penalty killing system on the Calgary Rush is that they get 4 guys lined up across the blue line to kind of dare you to beat them and dare you to shoot it in. Calgary hasn't been able to do either very well. And there's Kasatonov, who's one of the old-timers now on this young team.
He's played in 3 Olympic Games, 1980 in Lake Placid, 84 in Sarajevo, Yugoslavia, and, of course, 1988 in Calgary.
2 gold medals to his credit in those 3 Olympic Games. Wonder if he's young enough to go into a 4th Olympic game in '92 in France.
And when you talk about gold medals, it was right here in the Luzhniki Sports Palace that Theron Fleury captained the Canadian junior team to the 1988 World Championship.
He's had a fairly successful go of it lately, hasn't he? They win the World Championship, and then they win the Stanley Cup teams that this young man played on.
And he also had an International League championship with Salt Lake City.
Can't get all those rings on his hands, can he?
Lead pass for Joel Otto. It's offside.
Joel doesn't agree with it. A very close call. And Joel Otto, who I think has been the best defensive player forward on the Calgary team in the games we've seen here from Russia. And yet, he's more than average offensively. And I think if you ask the centers in the National League who they don't like to play against as far as an opposing center is concerned, Joel Otto would get a pile of votes.
23 seconds remaining in the penalty. McInnes tied up by Fedorov, but Fleury comes back to pick up that loose puck. Fleury into the slot area, shot, the rebound, and it's covered up by Mikhailovsky, the Soviet goaltender.
Well, Fleury tried to beat 3 Soviet defenders, and he got by one of them into the spot right here. Look at all the fellas that he's trying to get by. They were lined up 4 across. And Gilmore had a bit of a shot at the rebound, but he didn't get all the wood on it. And Calgary missed on what may have been as good a scoring chance as they've had.
Mikhailovsky, something of a surprise as the starting goaltender. We were informed by Tikhonov that it would be Ivashkin, but for some reason, Mikhailovsky is in goal. Long shot by Suter, deflects off the end glass, picked up by Nieuwendyk, and the penalty is over. The Soviets back in full strike. Roberts leaving it there for Nieuwendyk. We talked about Johansson perhaps being the best defenseman. Nieuwendyk has perhaps been Calgary's best forward on this tour.
Yeah, I'd vote for both those people.
Batsayev to Kovalenko. Kovalenko with a wrist shot. That is blocked by Suter. It goes to the corner. Nieuwendyk picks it up and moves out of his own zone. He flips it in, then he's bumped by Kovalenko, and Nieuwendyk goes down, and he's hurt.
Well, Nieuwendyk tried to make it in a short space between the defenseman and the boards, and he didn't quite get there. And he's coming to the bench, but not at full throttle.
Kostichkin going to his backhand. He fires it wide of the corner. Flip down the ice, and back after it is Malkov. Poplinski flips it in on the left side for Hrdina. It's fired around the boards, and Murzin takes over for McClellan. Back to Murzin. First shift for Jim Poplinski. Poplinski tied up by Malakov. Manages to get it back into his own zone. 2.5 minutes remaining in this opening period. It is still scoreless here at the Luzhniki Sports Palace.
I think, Don, this is one of those games where
Chasteen managed to steal it from Murzin, but fortunately for the Flames, Natras was there to bring it up ice. 17:52 is the time gone by in period 1.
A few words on business and change.
The Journal's a daily, and that gives you a real competitive advantage. It's very tough out there, but it's also very exciting. We want to be the best ally that you've got.
Today's Wall Street Journal. Faster, tougher, smarter.
Call 800-841-0300 for this special journal.
Well, there's Joel Nieuwendyk. It looks like he's all right. Maybe he was just winded. Here's a good look. He's trying to get through that space. Of course, the space ends up not being a space by the time Joe gets there. And he was slow to get up. The third player in NHL history to score 50 or more goals his first 2 years in the league. That puts him in a group with number 99 and Mike Bossy, which is pretty good company, I would say, for a young man who learned a lot of hockey at Cornell University.
Good company indeed, particularly when you consider he was a second-round draft choice. Priakin tied up in the neutral zone by Bykov. Back to Kasatonov. To Kamensky. Kamensky, rink wide. To Hamyatov, to Bykov. Kamensky going for the net. Bykov with a shot is up high. Priakin having problems there with Kasatonov, who had come racing in from the point. Gilmore along the boards, banging it out to the neutral zone with just over a minute remaining in a still scoreless first period. Here comes Hamyatov again. Tied up by McCowan, and the zone is cleared.
This is the kind of a game, I think, that as soon as one team scores, I think we're going to see the game open up a little more. Both teams seem to be kind of shadow boxing out there a little bit, because there haven't been a lot of scoring opportunities at either end.
Here comes Kamensky. Kamensky tried to flip it over on the wing. It was broken up and dumped out of the zone by McCowan. Kamensky will try again. He runs into a hit from Natras, and Gary Roberts fires it out. 30 seconds remaining in the period. Intercepted by Hunter, but as he brought it in, Joe Lotto was still inside the Soviet blue line.
Well, Mr. Hunter, seniors here, Mr. Neuendijk, seniors here, and they were rooming with their sons for a while. But I guess those two old-timers started staying up and seeing the lights of Moscow. So Joe and Mark put their dads together, and Joe and Mark now live together.
And it was in the second game in Kiev that Mark Hunter had a pair of goals in the 5-2 win. One thing about this tour by the Flames, the goal scoring has been very evenly distributed.
Well, they had 8 players scored over 20 or more last year, which is pretty good balance offensively.
Battle for the puck. Fedorov moving it along the boards. Stelnov trying to get out. Has to go around to the other side to Kravchuk. Kravchuk, lead pass to Fedorov. Fedorov with Bure, and it's offside with just 7 seconds remaining in the period. Did you like that burst of speed by Bure?
Yes, I would say that he's got a couple of jets in those skates. We're going to have a look right here. He's on the left wing, coming from behind, and he sure can skate. But gee, Paul Coffey can fly, Don. Bobby Orr, he hardly touched the ice when he skated. But I'm going to give you another 2 periods on Bure being the fastest player in the history of hockey.
No, I never said in the history of hockey, Harry. Now, come on. I said he could skate.
I think you should maybe, just a little advice, stay to this broadcasting and don't get into scouting.
Stelnov fires it down the ice as the horn sounds. The first period of the Luzhniki Sports Palace, Calgary and Red Army still scoreless. We now return to Lee Zeidman and Herb Brooks at Sports Channel Control in New York.
Period 1 ends in a scoreless standoff, but Herb, while the period lacked offense, it did not lack offensive behavior.
It's a good play on words, Lee. And you were right at the start when you said this could very well be the most spirited and physical game, and it sure was.
Well, we've got highlights and analysis coming up after this regional break. You're watching the Superpower Face-Off on Sports Channel.
The National Hockey League, Notre Dame Sports, and the...
With Herb Brooks, Coach, a scoreless first period really comes as no surprise, but Calgary's tactics, I think, do. They tore a page out of the Flyers playbook.
Well, in a lot of ways they did. I think we talked about earlier that Calgary, again, they're looking maybe to go home, a little tired, what have you, but they're a little frustrated. This is the first team I saw, first game, Lee, let me correct myself, that they were a little frustrated, and they were getting into some retaliation thing. They were running around to hit people, and that type of check and that type of check was sort of typical of the play of the first period.
Almost unnecessary penalties, but what I found interesting was that the Soviets can dish it out too, but they do it a little differently.
Well, that's a good point, and here is a case in point. Now, this is a natural, intelligent expression of some good, solid physical play by the Soviets. So they took it and they gave it out. But it was a period that both teams had a lot of respect for one another. But again, as we pointed out, you're not going to chase the young Soviets out of a rink. And Calgary, of all teams, should really know that.
Earlier in the series, we talked about how the Flames weren't intimidated by the much bigger ice surface, that they had a good transition game. But it seems to me after one period, even though we haven't seen a goal, that the Soviets are the one who have controlled the ice surface.
Well, they have, no question about it. And again, this is what Calgary's going to be faced with each and every night, Lee. They're defending Stanley Cup champions. Everybody wants a piece of them. So it's going to be, they got to get up for 80 games or it could be a real tough season, which I don't think it will be for them.
Well, they've had 20 minutes now to get a feel for that Soviet squad. We'll expect to see some scoring in period 2. Send you back to Moscow after this regional break.
With Pryakin and Patterson for the Calgary Flames, it is Bykov, Hamyatov, and Kamensky for Red Army. Kasatonov takes it back of his own net. Long lead pass for Bykov on the right side. He was trying to hit Hamyatov on the fly. It was just a little too far for him. Patterson and Kamensky battle back to the goal. Kamensky comes up with it. Kamensky gets it over to Kasatonov, who had come driving in from the blue line. Fired wide. Bykov with a long shot, knocked down in front. In the corner, Hamyatov bumped there by Murzin, and Murzin gets a little jab in, sending Hamyatov flying to the ice, but the referee did not see it. And back comes Johansson. On the left side for Gilmore. Too far, the puck loose in the Red Army zone. Zubov has it. Zubov to Bykov, long shot, and that goes up into the crowd.
Dana Murzin, who I don't think gets mad often enough, although he played awfully well in the playoffs last year. But look at the size of that guy. What if he was just a shade meaner? And here's what I'm saying. That's the way, Dana. Get upset up there. Your play will improve. I think he's going to have a good year. I think the confidence that he acquired in the last half of last season, plus the playoffs, will do him a world of good for this coming season.
Kravchuk flips it in back of the goal. Konstantinov taken in against the boards by Natras. Neuendijk brings it out. Rink wide for Roberts. He has McCowan trailing. Roberts with a shot and a glove save by Mikhailovsky. Jamie McCowan is playing his first game in this friendship tour. He missed the first 3.
He came down with the flu, as I mentioned earlier, and I'm sure his stay in the Soviet Union really seemed to take a long time when you're not playing. He couldn't even practice for 3 or 4 days, so he was really nailed with it, and it's nice to see him out there back in action.
Mikhailovsky in goal for Red Army. He's just 20 years of age. He and Vashkin share the goaltending duties with this Red Army team. Konstantinov trying to go rink wide. It's broken up by Natras. He dumps it down the ice. Stelnov is back there. Over to Kravchuk. Trying to hit Fedorov in the neutral zone. Broken up, and Neuendijk comes back to Makarov. Makarov puts on the brakes. Centering it for Roberts, and Roberts had difficulty trying to pick it up off his skates. Centering attempt again. Nobody is there. Konstantinov takes it back of the net. Konstantinov checked by Makarov. Kravchuk. Oh, Natras steps into Fedorov at the blue line.
Sometimes when you get hit and you don't go down, it stings more than if you do go down, and Natras really got a hold of that Russian player, number 18, Fedorov, and stopped him quite quickly.
McClellan can't get it out. Bure flips it in back of the net. Konstantinov back to Bure. Bure cutting right in front of the net. Couldn't take the puck with him, and he and McCrimmon do some pushing and shoving as the Calgary Flames bring it out. Offside as Hrdina brings it in across the line. 2:28 has gone by in this second period. It's still scoreless, and we
in rushes, and the chippiness that we saw in the first period still exists.
And while the game against the wings of the Soviet at times was almost devoid of contact, there has been some hard hitting by both sides in this one. This will be an icing call against the Calgary Flames. as Ivanov touches it.
Well, Terry Crisp was telling us last night that one thing he knows for sure, when Joe Mullen gets back with the team, he's not going to tinker with the line of Mullen, Patterson, and Gilmore that played so well for them. He's going to reunite them and leave them together. Last year, they had 91 goals, 233 assists for 242 points combined, and combined they were a plus 140. I don't think many lines in the National League can give you all those kind of stats.
Something else he said I found rather interesting. He said this year he might not go with 4 lines as often as he did last year.
Well, anyone knows that your best players don't play quite enough if you just keep turning 4 lines over. And unless there's a lot of penalties in the game, I don't think your best players get out there enough. However, the 4-line formula worked last year. If it's not wrecked, don't spoil it, or if it's not spoiled, don't wreck it.
It comes out into the center ice area. Otto tried to get it ahead for Suter. He managed to get it back as it deflected off a skate. Long shot off a stick to the corner. Kovalenko moves it into the neutral zone to Batsayev. Batsayev crossing, leaving it there for Fimin. He overskated it. Back comes Hrdina with McClellan. Hrdina looking in front of the net for McClellan. Ivanov broke that up. Hrdina pries that puck loose. Back to Suter. Fakes the shot over to Fleury. Long drive. Kicked out. Another shot, and that's gloved and held by Mikhailovsky. And again, pushing and shoving in front of that Soviet net. And now McClellan and Batsayev swing away at each other, but nothing really serious develops.
McClellan was trying to stand in front of the goaltender, and the Russian defensemen are very rugged.
Again, McClellan involved this time with Gusarov, and this comes with 3:38 gone in the second.
If you want to see the movie Cocktail on TV this fall...
This whole thing started when Ivanov and McClellan were fighting for position in front of the goal. And I don't know how the referees have sorted out the penalties. But I can tell you this, they can only put 2 minutes up on the penalty time clock here in Moscow. I wouldn't be at all surprised if McClellan didn't get an extra 2 and might be in there for 4 minutes.
So far, the indication is just 1 minor against McClellan. He did get a roughing penalty as well as the cross-checking. You were right, Harry.
Well, they'll play 4 skaters aside for 2 minutes, and then the Red Army will have a power play.
Merzen gains control. Back to Al McInnes. Over to Merzen. He's being forced back by Shibarev. Merzen for Ranheim. Ranheim on the right side for Fleury. Fleury looking in front of the net for Ranheim. It deflected off a stick and high into the corner. Back comes Chastain. Chastain is knocked down by McInnes. Merzen leaves it back to the goal for Fleury.
Nice defensive play by Al McInnes. 1-on-1. He let the puck carrier worry about the puck, and McInnes just took the man. Perfectly done.
4:30 is the time remaining in this second period. No score between the Calgary Flames and Red Army. Vernon quickly moves it up ice to Priakin. Priakin knocked off the puck by Fedorov. Rink wide to Kravchuk. Back of the net, it's loose. Kravchuk gets it ahead to Stelnov. Stelnov over to Fedorov. Fedorov to his backhand, saved by Vernon. And Jamie McCowan picks up the loose puck.
Well, the Russian defenseman jumped into the rush to create the third man against the 2 Calgary defense as Priakin and Gilmore were trapped. Here it happens again.
Fedorov to Kravchuk. Back to Fedorov. Kravchuk. Bure in front of the net. He crashes into Vernon, and the net goes off its supports. 5:25 has gone by in period 2. Calgary and Red Army are scoreless.
And then Vernon gave it another shove, but it was already off. The referee turned and saw Vernon shoving the net, and we're going to see it here in a second.
Oleg Dmitriev, the coach of the Wings of the Soviet.
He was on camera more than the puck was on the ice the other night, wasn't he? Anyway, the referee has given Mike Vernon a stern warning not to monkey with the net or you'll have to call a penalty. Now he's explaining it to... Well, McCrimmon wants to know about the time clock. Now, the time clock here, they can only put 2 minutes up on it. So the Calgary player, McClellan, will stay in the box and the Russian player will come out, and Calgary in 13 seconds will be shorthanded.
Terry Crisp sends out Joel Otto for this face-off. Otto and Patterson killing off the penalty along with Suter and McCrimmon. Suter for McCrimmon. McCrimmon ahead to Otto. Otto for Patterson. And now the Red Army team is at full strength, and they will have a power play. This comes with 5:46 gone by in period 2.
Well, the chances not to score in this game for either team are very low, and it's a very conservative game that both Calgary and Red Army are playing, and you'd have to give the edge to Red Army on chances to score, but they haven't impressed me as being a dynamic offensive scoring machine to date. And of course, Calgary was second in the league in scoring goals, only to LA last year, but they haven't had many of the guns loaded tonight either.
On the power play, Hamyatov gets it over to Bykov, to Hamyatov. Kasatonov driving in from the point. In the corner for Bykov. Bykov to the line to Zubov. Over to Kasatonov, back to Zubov. To Hamyatov. Soviets throwing it around, but so far not letting a shot go. Kasatonov to Zubov. Zubov in the corner to Hamyatov. They're having problems penetrating that four-man box that the Calgary Flames have thrown up. A minute remaining in the penalty. Here's the shot right on, and Vernon holds it for a face-off. Kamensky letting that one go from the top of the circle.
Many of Vernon's saves have been long shots. Kamensky, number 13, is a draft pick of the Quebec Nordique, 129th overall in 1988. He followed the 1987 Canada Cup. He scored 6 goals in that series. And last year he had 18 goals in 40 games for Red Army. Here's the shot. It's a hard shot, but Mike Vernon isn't going to allow many goals from 40 feet out from off to the side.
So far, the Soviets have outshot the Calgary Flames 16-8. Ivanov lets it go. Great save by Vernon. He one-timed that one back at the point, taking the pass from Gusarov. A shot from the boards by Fimin doesn't get through as it's blocked by Roger Johansson. Fimin and Johansson battle in the corner. Otto gets control of the puck, can't get it out. Gusarov with a shot. Another shot. The initial attempt by Gusarov was knocked down in front.
Boy, Mike Vernon made 2 great stops on this little flurry of action while the Flames were killing the penalties. One with his pad, one with his glove. And Vernon certainly looks like he's in mid-season form. And he took 2 excellent chances away from the Red Army. And Dana Merzen grabbed the Russian player right here, Butsiev, and hauled him out of the way as he was looking like he was going to fall on top of the goaltender.
27 seconds remaining in the penalty.
Well, Mike Vernon's been the difference for sure in this game. And here are a couple of the stops. There's a good one right there with his foot. She'll close in one, and then watch Merson. Get that guy out of there. He doesn't want him falling on his little goaltender.
Terry Crisp has to be extremely pleased with his way his goaltender has performed on this friendship tour of the Soviet Union. As a matter of fact, he has to be happy with the work of all three, Vernon, Gannett, and Rick Wamsley.
And it looks like Vernon's going to go the whole route here. Wamsley doesn't appear to be thinking about getting ready to go in, and we're closing in on the 10-minute mark of the second period.
Just 2 seconds remaining in the penalty. McClellan back in the ice. The Flames at full strength. Roberts brings it back into his own zone. Rink-wide pass picked off by Stelnoff to Kovalenko. He didn't get good wood on it, and it just went wide of the far corner.
Roberts, a lazy backhand pass in the middle of the rink nearly cost Calgary a goal.
Penalty coming up against the Calgary Flames, and from the reaction of Merson, he's going to the box.
Well, we've said it before in these broadcasts, and I'm going to say it again. You cannot take needless penalties and get away with it against the good Soviet power play.
8:03 gone by in this second period. Another power play coming up for Red Army.
There's the penalty. Dana Merson hooked the Russian players. He was headed toward the puck. And there's Viktor Tikhonov, the closest man. And there's the man in the penalty box, Dana Merson. Tikhonov, of course, coaches Red Army and the Russian national team. He's made a lot of trips to Canada over the years. And I even saw him smile on one of them, but I can't remember exactly what tour that was.
The face-off in the Calgary zone, and Joel Otto did a fine job in that face-off circle as he sent Vikov flying.
Joel often wins the draw with the puck and drags the opposing center down, too. He likes to get his head way over the dot.
Hamyatov with Kamensky. Kamensky puts on the brakes, and then he is checked. Natras knocked him down, and the puck is cleared out of the zone. 1:30 remaining in the penalty to Merson. Vikov having problems getting away from Ranheim. Out there penalty killing with Gilmore. Gilmore steals it. Going it alone. Oh, he fired it wide. He was looking for that short side. I think that puck slipped off the end of his stick.
I think Kasatonov caught him and just gave him a little hook on the top arm, because certainly Doug Gilmore didn't get much of a shot away.
Vikov controlling it. Hamyatov for Vikov. Vikov trying to get it back to the line, and it was deflected out into the center ice area. Now it's Hamyatov. Over on the wing for Vikov in front of the shot. Kasatonov.
Well, the Calgary Flames got caught with their two forwards, penalty-killing forwards, in too close to the net, and forgot all about the fact that the defenseman isn't just going to stand out there in the blue line. And he jumped off the point, Kasatonov did, and got the pass out and let a bullet shot go that Mike Burnett had no choice. You're going to see Gilmore. Gilmore gets in too far and turns his back on the play. And look at Kasatonov. He snuck right into the hash mark. Took this pass right here from number 15, Komatov. And look where that defenseman shoots it from. Maybe 15 feet out. And Gilmore just got caught watching the play. Now he can't get back. Doug Gilmore, a very bright hockey player, forgot for a second. And he paid for it by letting the point man get a shot from the pass.
Fleury on the right side. Poplinski trying to cut for the net. Knocked away from him. Stelnoff back for Red Army. Stelnoff dumps it in behind the goal. Poplinski picks it up. He slides it out of the zone. Kravchuk. Rink-wide pass. Stelnoff firing it in. Bure bumps along the boards. Fedorov back to the line. Kravchuk's shot goes off Mark Hunter's stick to the corner.
I think we'll see I think we'll see the game open up a little bit now, Don. The Flames have to get something going offensively. And the Soviet team will now, I think, wait and hope that they catch the Flames gambling a little and take advantage of it. Because Calgary's given up very few 4-on-3s or 2-on-1s, and the Russian teams usually get a few of those in a game.
Al McInnes wins the race with Kostichkin for that puck in the Calgary zone. Now he starts out. A full house enjoying the action at the Luzhniki Sports Palace tonight. In previous games played here involving the Washington Capitals and Moscow Dynamo and the Flames and the wings of the Soviet, there were empty seats, but not tonight.
And we might add that the Washington Capitals in Riga last night won a 2-1 game in overtime. That's the second overtime victory they've had in the 3 games they've played here. They have one more on Thursday night in Leningrad.
Tim Berglund scoring in overtime for Washington. Dave Christian getting the other goal for the Capitals. Johansson plays it around the boards for Makarov. Makarov forced in deep. Now McInnes tries to get it out. Makarov checks Shastin, and Johansson has the loose puck. Makarov to Roberts. Roberts flips it in. Malakoff back after it for the Soviets. We're at the 11:40 mark of period 2. 1-0 the Soviets leading on a power play goal by Kasatonov.
You see, that was the Soviet defenseman who had been out there a long time, shot the puck from inside his own blue line right at the goalie so they could change on the fly.
Kasatonov with the power play goal that has Red Army in front, 1-0.
I've been off of them now for, well, in September it'll be 2 years. It wasn't
7 o'clock Pacific.
A goaltending change for the Calgary Flames. Mike Vernon has gone to the bench. Rick Wamsley in goal.
And Mike Vernon was terrific with absolutely no hope on the goal that beat him.
Natras with a long shot. Ivanov bangs it out of the zone. Jamie McCowan off the boards for Gilmore. Cross ice to Priakin. Priakin puts on the brakes, tried to shovel it in front to Patterson, and then Priakin was checked. Batsayev knocked down by McCowan. Puck picked up by Fimin. He took a shot off a leg. McCowan tracks it down in the other corner for Patterson. Patterson flips it high into the neutral zone. Priakin knocked it down, brought it back in. He's checked by Gusarov. He gave it to Kovalenko, who was spun around by Patterson. Now Priakin comes out again with Gilmore.
It looks like Natras behind the play is hurt and is struggling to get to the bench as the Flames are changing on the fly.
McCrimmon, rink wide now for Sutter. He's checked by Fimin. Here comes Hamyatov. Hamyatov has it knocked off his stick by McCrimmon. Herdina starts back with Joel Otto. The two of them in across the line. Drop pass for Otto. He was trying to go rink wide. It was intercepted by Gusarov. He got it over to Hamyatov to Kamensky. He's checked. The puck loose. Kasatonov to Kamensky. Shot right on. The first save by Wamsley as Herdina comes back. 13:34 elapsed in period 2. 1-0. Red Army leading. Kamensky in across the line for Bikoff. Bikoff with a shot, missing the far corner. McClellan trying to move it out. The whistle goes as the Calgary net is knocked off its support.
Well, we've seen a couple of pretty good rushes by both teams in the last 3 or 4 minutes. Wamsley's had to make one save. Tough going in there with no warm-up. And twice in this games we've done, we've seen the first shot go in on the new goaltender. There's the guy playing the organ right down beside the boards. Unlike rinks in North America. And I noticed tonight in the crowd there's a fair number of USSR fans that have flags and wave them when they see a good play by their team. Makarov is continuing his streak of not doing much, and I'm sure that the Flame Brats are a little concerned about his lackadaisical play.
Drop pass for Merzen off the stick of Kravchuk up into the crowd.
You'd think this would be a real big game for this young man. It's his last hockey game in the Soviet Union for quite a little while. It's against his old team. And he's giving it not much of an effort, in my opinion. However, it's preseason, and I always used to tell my older players, you be ready by the season. I may remind you occasionally that I don't like the way you're trying to get ready, but you take the whole training camp to be ready.
Another penalty coming up against the Flames. Murzin is going off. He spun Bure around and knocked off his helmet. Another power play at the 14:21 mark of period 2.
Taking that, I think he thought at least it should have been a double penalty, because he and the Soviet player did collide and had words and shoved each other. But the referee decided big number 5 was going to the box and no one out.
A roughing call against Dana Murzin. Doug Gilmore conferring with the official, Seppo Makala. He's from Finland. The other night, a neutral referee from Switzerland handled the game. Kravchuk to Bure. In the corner, Fedorov back to Bure. To the line for Kravchuk. For Bure. To Fedorov. Another penalty coming up. Natras and the Soviet player Konstantinov were battling in front of the goal, and Konstantinov is going to be going off, so that will negate the man advantage.
It's an interference call. It was a great play by Natras. He turned his back on them as they were jousting, and then he allowed the Russian player to knock him down, and the referee was right there and called it interference. A sharp play by Natras to draw the penalty.
141. Sorry, Harry. 141 still remains in the penalty to Murzin.
And there's Rick Natras, who drew a penalty by playing it smart in front of the net. And the Russians they put a guy right in the crease on every power play. Of course, their theory is that he'll draw one defender and also break the concentration of the goaltender, and then the other 4 skaters will be playing against 3 and ought to get a chance.
Makarov into the slot, trying to drop it back to McInnes, who was calling for that puck as he came driving in from the point. Nieuwendyk attempting to slide it to the line to McInnes, had it go out into the center ice area. 4 skaters against 4. Makarov knocked down as he came in across the line by Kravchuk. McInnes races into the corner, dumps it back at the net. Fedorov has it for Red Army. On the right side to Bure. Bure lost control of the puck as he came in across the line.
One thing I have not seen the Calgary team do too much of, and something they did very well last year, is get their defensemen, especially McInnes, Suter, into the rushes as the 4th man. Now, maybe on this big rink with the speedy Soviets, they're a little afraid of getting trapped. But certainly that takes away a weapon that those 2 defensemen showed on a regular basis last year. But maybe that's one of the adjustments they thought they had to make when they get into these bigger rinks with a team that's loaded with good skaters.
Jamie McCowan behind his own net. In 47 seconds, the Flames will have a power play of 18 seconds. Gilmore lost control of it as he came in across the line. And a whistle on the play as that puck was gloved ahead. Gilmore had the best scoring opportunity for the Flames so far when he intercepted that pass, went in alone while the Flames were shorthanded.
Well, Doug Gilmore, I mean, I don't know how many more good things you can say about him. I'll tell you this, he was second in the NHL in plus-minus with a plus 45. He was second in team scoring with 85 points. He was 3rd in the playoff scoring with 22 points in 22 games. Led the team in plus-minus in the playoffs. I would say if you combine the league and the playoffs, Doug Gilmore was the most valuable Flame last year.
And a late draft choice after playing his junior hockey in Cornwall.
I remember seeing him playing in Cornwall, and you really liked him, but he must have weighed about 110 pounds. And you wondered whether he'd ever get big enough. He's not a big guy, but he was really skinny in those days. That's why so many teams passed on him, but he may be the best draft pick of that year by far, regardless who took anyone where.
The Calgary Flames with the man advantage now. 14 seconds remaining in the power play as Hrdina brings it out. He overskated it. Johansson fires it in. Gilmore picking it up in the corner. 5 seconds remaining in the power play to Makarov. Back to Gilmore, to the point to Suter. Over to the other side. McInnes winding up. He lets it go. And that one is deflected to the corner. It's about the first time in this series that McInnes has been able to blast one from the point.
Right. And I think the goalie stopped it with his arm, and I'm sure he'll have a black and blue mark tomorrow, regardless of how much pads he has on his arm. McInnes, as we know, has got, I think, the hardest shot in the league from the point.
McInnes looking for Roberts in the neutral zone. Deflected down the ice. Malakoff bumped by Nieuwendyk. Roberts is knocked off the puck by Shibarev. Now Gusarov turns in the corner. Flips it over to the other side to Malakoff. Lead pass for Shibarev. Shibarev turned around by Nieuwendyk, who has been playing a very physical game tonight.
Those hamburgers. I wonder if they were hamburgers. Thought I saw 2 or 3 gray ponies walk by that stand that were selling the hamburgers. Maybe they didn't get all the way by it.
17:38 has gone by in the second. Red Army leads the Calgary Flames 1-0.
This is a beautiful morning for tennis.
Of course, any morning's beautiful if you're on the courts. We'll be playing in a minute.
Can hardly wait.
The first one this period. They certainly have had very little going in the way of offense.
Bykov in across the line. Over to Kamensky. A shot. That's fired wide. Ranheim hits Fleury. Fleury dropped it for Mark Hunter. Intercepted by Kamensky. Penalty coming up against the Calgary Flames. And as Mark Hunter touches it, the whistle will go, and another power play opportunity at 18:19 of this second period.
Mark Hunter's going to get the penalty. He hooked the Russian player from behind and hauled him down right in front of the referee. And those kind of penalties, I mean, you're asking for trouble. Number 19, Bykov, a little player with a great shot, very quick hands. Wasn't he the guy picked up for shoplifting in Anchorage last year at the World Junior Tournament?
No, actually it was in Sweden in 1983. He was arrested for shoplifting and as a result missed the 1984 Olympics as he was taken off the Soviet national team.
Well, I wasn't sure of the store, but I knew the story.
Otto steals it. Shot. Mikhailovsky made the save with Gilmore standing in front of the net. Gilmore is knocked down. Hamyatov works to the corner. He's spun around by Natras. Continues battling for the puck. Bykov gets it. Bykov drops it back. Flipped into the corner. Hamyatov back to the line. Kasatonov into Kamensky. Soviets looking for that good shot as we move into the final minute of the period. Kasatonov into Kamensky. To Hamyatov. Hamyatov out front. And Kamensky, who was driving into the slot area, had it bounce away from him.
That's that European play where they throw it out on the side of the net. They are leaving as they're going behind the net, and it went right through about 4 people. And nobody touched it.
Bure now coming in against Natras. Bure flips it to Kamensky. Back to the point. Stelnov slides it into Kamensky. Kamensky is knocked down. It goes back to the net. Bure has lost his helmet again. He's in front of the net. Gets away from Natras. Bure gives it to Kamensky. Back to the line. To Stelnov, to Kamensky. Here's the shot. It's fired wide. And that will end the period. Kasatonov with the only goal of the hockey game thus far. A power play tally from Hamyatov at 9:22. And Red Army leads the Calgary Flames after 2 periods of play, 1-0. We now return to Lee Zeidman and Herb Brooks at Sports Channel Control in New York.
Lee Zeidman along with Herb Brooks in New York. Calgary sticking to its physical style, but the Soviets gain the 1-0 edge.
Well, Lee, Calgary cannot take unnecessary penalties. Simple as that.
Well, we're going to have highlights and analysis of that second period after this regional break. Play, so Viktor Tikhonov's Red Machine unfazed by the Flames' tactics of a physical game, and yet they've capitalized on it to grab the lead.
Well, that's true. And again, this is what we talked about with Calgary or any team going over to the Soviet Union, stay out of the penalty box. The referees will let you play a little bit, but then they're going to start, zeroing in on. And this is Dana Merson. He has been a very physical hockey player for 40 minutes. He's got to play that way, but he can't just take the unnecessary shot right there. Now, that was a good Mike Tyson left hand, but from that point on, the referee is watching Dana Merson. But Calgary, they're not a bunch of shrinking violets. They will take the body. Now, that's a good open ice hit. That's what you have to do, and not the retaliatory type of things. And when you get into the other things, then your game starts breaking down. The Calgary team, on the other hand, and the Soviet team, on the other hand, always looking for the intelligent way to take the body. Sometimes it works, sometimes it not. But now Merson, as we talked about, being the marked man, finds himself in the penalty box, and again, this is where Calgary gets into some trouble, and the Soviets capitalize on a power play to put themselves up 1-0.
Well, it was a beautiful power play. It's interesting. In their run to the Stanley Cup last year, the Flames burned a lot of teams scoring shorthanded. They can't do that against the Soviet team, perhaps because of a larger ice surface. But even worse, take a look at the shots, Coach. 24-11, the Soviets have outshot Calgary. I know the power play has a little bit to do with it, but you can't have that kind of a deficit.
Well, the deficit, I think, is signified by one word, the transition, the word transition. The Soviets are making a great transition change from offense to defense. Calgary, on the other hand, they're a little sluggish. And when you have the puck and you lose it and you jump into the type of defensive system you want, this is what the Soviets are doing. You're going to shut down the best of teams, and we'll have to say Calgary is one of the best of all teams.
Well, the lead is 1-0, but so far we've seen the Soviet team handle the puck better and really outskate the Flames for 2 periods. Will the game change in terms of Soviet tactics as they protect the lead? We'll find out as we go back to Moscow for period 3 after this regional break.
The Calgary Flames start the third period short-handed. Mark Hunter still has 19 seconds to serve. 13 penalties so far in the game, called by Finnish referee Seppo Makala. 8 against Calgary, 5 against Red Army. Bykov to Hamyatov to Kamensky. Kamensky trying to slide it through, and it's broken up by McCowan. Although Hamyatov racing in, took a swipe at the puck, it went up high. The Flames back at full strength as Hunter shoots it into the Red Army zone. Zubov with a rink-wide pass for Hamyatov to Bykov. With Kamensky. He tried to slide it through to him, and it was broken up by Brad McCrimmon. Kasatonov, the captain of the team, has scored the only goal. A fine move by the veteran defenseman on the power play to move into the slot and get the only goal of the hockey game. There you see the gentleman wearing the glasses in the center of the picture, Anatoly Tarasov, the father of Soviet hockey. He had some interesting comments yesterday about the Soviet program when they first became involved in international hockey, comparing Soviet hockey to Canadian hockey. He identified 4 areas he felt they had to work on to be successful. One was in conditioning. He said they could probably handle that without any problems and do better than the Canadian team. The other was in the skill level. The third was in a team concept. But in the fourth, motivation, desire, and will to win, his reply was, yeah. He said that is the strength of Canadian hockey. Lead pass for Makarov. He tried to slide it across to Roberts. It was broken up by Kravchuk. McCrimmon unable to keep it in. Here's a 2-on-1. Over to Bure. Bure slides it back out front, and McCrimmon managed to get back to break it up.
Well, the puck hopped over McCrimmon's stick at the offensive blue line, and he got back to get in the play as the Russians tried one pass too many, and by that time, McCrimmon was back to help.
Here comes Gilmore stealing it at center ice. Gilmore drops it for Patterson, and a fine save by Mikulovsky. Bryakin checks Gusarov. And then Gusarov knocks him down, and he's going to draw a penalty.
Well, the Calgary power play certainly hasn't looked like it usually looks, and I know Al McInnes referred to the fact they haven't had a chance to practice it. But Calgary's special teams, finishing first in one and second in the other, were highly responsible for many of the wins last year that got them 117 points. And there's the villain who took that penalty right there. In wrestling, it would be 3 points for a takedown, but in hockey, it's 2 minutes in the penalty box. And here's a chance for Calgary to get on the board and get a little bit of a roll going as far as their confidence is concerned. Patterson let about a 50-footer go there, and the Russian goalie made the save. But it was a long shot, although a hard one, by Colin Patterson.
So at the 2-minute mark of the third period, trailing by a goal, the Flames have a power play opportunity. Loose puck, McInnes flips it into the corner. Gilmore leaves it there for Joel Otto. They battle along the boards. McInnes also moves in. McInnes gets it. Over to Gilmore. Rink-wide pass for Suter. There's the shot, the save, the big rebound. Gilmore couldn't get a shot away as he was tied up, and Deacock brings it back.
Gilmore was hooked right off his feet as he was going to shoot that puck, but the referee looked at him and shook his head. No.
Hamutov takes it back in his own zone. Put down the ice. Suter is back there after it. 1:15 remaining in this Calgary power play. Suter firing it in. Big rebound off the end boards. Comes out in front. And Stelnoff clears it to the boards. Then he's checked by Fleury. Fleury is knocked down by Kravchuk. Otto knocks it away from Hamutov, but Gilmore was unable to center it.
Well, the Russians do force the play. When they're down a man, they don't sit in the box and allow you to make 2 or 3 passes without putting a little heat on you. And as a result, at least on the penalties, power plays that Calgary have had tonight, they've not been able to get many shots.
Stelnoff fires it down the ice with 35 seconds remaining in the penalty. 24-11, the shots favoring Red Army over the Calgary Flames. And they lead it 1-0 on the power play goal by Kasatonov. Hrdina touches it. That's a 2-line pass.
Yuri Hrdina, who did not play in Monday night's game because of a bad hand when he was hit blocking a shot in Kiev, is back in action tonight. And, you know, he hasn't shown an awful lot either. You'd think the Europeans would dance a little better than they've danced on the big ice that they are so used to, but not yet.
One player who has performed well is Johansson. He's been the best European by far. Fedorov in his own zone, rink wide for Kravchuk. Too far. Suter gets it. And the penalty is over. Soviets back at full strength. Al McInnes shoots it in. Kravchuk back after it to Stelnoff. Rink wide for Fedorov. Fedorov with a shot right on, and Wamsley hangs on. 4:16 has gone by in the third. 1-0. Red Army leads Calgary.
I've been off of them now for, well, in September it'll be 2 years.
It wasn't as hard as I thought it would be.
Cigarette is an easy, inexpensive, and guaranteed method to quit smoking.
I've tried other things and nothing worked.
It just took all of the craving away from me all at once, and I didn't want any.
And I didn't have the weight gain.
A year later, I'm 30 pounds thinner.
You quit
behind Rick Wamsley, and they wear referee shirts, so they're identifiable in Europe. In North America, sometimes I'm sure they don't want to be identified, so I don't think that fad is going to go back over the ocean with us tomorrow.
Well, there have been many things of European hockey that have been adopted by National Hockey League teams, but I agree with you. I think that is one that will remain in Europe. Shot from the point. Malakoff has it deflect up into the crowd. 4:30 has elapsed in period 3.
Well, I keep saying that the Calgary Flames haven't done much offensively, but maybe we ought to give a little more credit than we have to the Soviet team for playing as well as they have defensively. One thing for sure, when North American teams play good Soviet teams, time of puck possession is usually in favor of the European teams. We're having a look here at the back of Boris Mikhailov, and you remember what a great hockey player he was in those games in the 60s and 70s. If any of the players in front of him can play as well as he, it'll make him a better coach.
Well, there's some speculation that if and when Tikhonov is replaced, McCowan lets it go. The save by Mikhailovsky, that Boris Mikhailov might take over as coach of the Soviet national team. Some are also suggesting it might be Oleg Dmitriev.
Well, if you let the players vote, it would be one of those two guys. Tikhonov would be out of there, but you cannot knock Mr. Tikhonov's record. But when you want a player who's playing on any of the other teams in the Soviet Union and can get him by simply conscripting him into the army, it makes you a better coach right away.
And since the Soviets became involved in international hockey, the national team has only had 4 coaches. That's 4 coaches in 35 years. Kovalenko with a shot right on. And the play was whistled down on an offside call. Tarasov was the first, then Kulagin, Bobrov, and Tikhonov.
4 coaches in 35 years. It's unheard of where we come from, isn't it?
It is indeed. Maybe you should consider trying for a coaching job in the Soviet Union, Harry. Longevity is the key.
I've been here 4 years on this trip, haven't I?
Hunter's rink-wide pass broken up. Ranheim fires it in. Ivanov up along the boards. Fimin checked by McCrimmon, who came in from the point. Batsayev trying to get it out of there, and the Soviets succeed in clearing the zone. We've gone through 5:30 of this third period with the Soviets leading by that 1-0 score on the Kasatonov power play goal in the second period. Merzen for Joel Otto. 1-on-1 against Ivanov. Drops it off for McClellan. McClellan couldn't do anything with it. Otto was looking back to the point, but he was checked, and it's knocked out into the center ice area. Al McInnes, lead pass for McClellan. Flip to the corner. Joel Otto bumps with Gusarov. Otto comes up with it, looking for McClellan, and it was intercepted by Bykov. To Hanyatov to Kamensky. This is the top Soviet line. Loose puck in the corner. Bykov bumped there by McClellan. Back to the point. Zubov with a long shot. Kicked out by Rick Wamsley. Lead pass for McClellan. Zubov got back to cover up.
It's the end of a long shift for McClellan, and the legs were burning up as he had a half a breakaway but couldn't get in the clear.
Bykov in across the line. It's offside. We talked about Tarasov and his thoughts about the Canadian program as opposed to the Soviet program. His theory on coaching is also that you put your 3 best players together regardless. Doesn't matter what position they play, you put your 3 best players together. Stelnov. Rink-wide pass. Bure couldn't pick it up. Kravchuk back into his own zone. .653 has been played in the third period. Roberts flipped it in. Now Fedorov leaves it there. Neuendijk steals it. It's offside.
The delayed offside. I don't know about what you think, Don, but the games we've seen here in the Soviet Union, I think the games in the smaller rinks are better. There are more chances. There's a little more contact. The possibility of a goal, I think, and the anticipation of it is one of the features of the game in North America. And I don't know how many games our fans would go to if they were like the games we've seen over here. Some good play, don't get me wrong. The players are all right. It's the style and maybe the size of the rink that caused the problem, in my opinion.
Nieuwendyk again driving in there, and he and Fedorov do some pushing and shoving. And we saw the other night in the game between Washington and Moscow Dynamo that the fans reacted and seemed to enjoy a scrap between Scott Stevens and McCulloch. And they seem to be enjoying this little battle between Joe Nieuwendyk and Fedorov. And, of course, in international hockey, fighting is not allowed, and those who do fight are banished from the game. And that's what happened in the game between Washington and Moscow Dynamo. But I don't think anything is going to happen here, even though both players did drop their gloves. I don't think they're going to be kicked out of the game.
Looks to me like it'll be a roughing or maybe a double roughing call. What? Joe Nieuwendyk, here's how it started. He went to the net. Now, I don't think anybody can blame him for that collision. He was shoved in by the opposition, but that started the whole affair. And the referee looks to me like he's singled out one player from each team. Roberts from Calgary. There's no question about this fact. It's of no advantage at all to think that you're A, going to scare the Russians by heavy body checking, or B, cause them to change the way they play. Those days are over. And Calgary will have, I think, have the biggest team in the National League, have not made a dent as far as getting an edge by being physical with this Soviet team. And I would say that if you were keeping track of body checks, Calgary have taken more than they've given.
Fedorov, the Soviet penalized player. Chastain working against McCrimmon. Lets the shot go up high on Walmsley. Nieuwendyk, who precipitated that altercation, brings it out. Leaves it there for Suter. He gives it to Makarov. Makarov ahead to Nieuwendyk. Makarov at the line is checked by Chastain. Chastain brings it back into the neutral zone. Malikin off the boards, and going back after it is McCrimmon. This is an icing call against the Soviets with 1:14 remaining in the penalties.
Number 23 is Chastain, who played last year for Kiev. He led their team in goals with 21. He was 5th in the league in scoring with Kiev. But he got into a problem with the Kiev coach. And although there is no such thing as a trade in the Soviet Union, the players do not have contracts. And they can move from team to team. The only team you can't move from is this one, the Red Army. It's AWOL, and the Bullets show up. So it isn't like our Hockey North America, where one team will trade somebody to another team to help them maybe shore up a position they're not as strong as they'd like to be in. The only team that can acquire players and keep them is the Red Army.
And it's the domination of the Red Army team over the last 10 years or so that has resulted in something of a drop-off of interest in Soviet hockey.
And everyone we talk to say that this year the race for the championship in the Soviet League is going to be closer, and they're hoping that more fans will come out and see the games because the competition should be a little better.
Johansson brings it back for Calgary. Rink-wide pass for Gilmore. He lets it go for Erdina. Glove save by Mikhailovsky.
Mikhailovsky has had very little to do, but he certainly looks like he knows how to play goal. Both the goaltenders are 20 years old. And I think that their coaching staff here and the management of the Red Army team are kind of hoping that there's a Tretiak in there somewhere. He's wearing the same number the great Russian goalie wore. And he made a nice catch of that shot from about 30 feet out.
Fleury moves out with Ranheim. Two very speedy skaters for the Calgary Flames. Ivanov takes it back behind his own net. Pushed ahead to Kovalenko. He can't go anywhere with it. Merzen to Fleury. Long shot. Knocked out by Mikhailovsky to the blue line, but not out. Now it's Ivanov. Gaining possession to Kovalenko. To Batsayev. He's checked by Fleury, and the puck goes loose. Fleury has it. With Ranheim. The two of them in across the line. Ranheim was offside.
It was a nice attempt by Fleury and a little dump pass to get and take advantage of Ranheim's speed, but they were offside by an inch.
An interesting story about these two, Fleury and Ranheim. Which one is the fastest skater? Paul Baxter was telling me that they had a race at training camp. They started from the red line, went around the net, down to the other end, and back to the red line. And Ranheim, Baxter said, won by a full zone.
Well, I can believe that, but you know what? The game is made up of hundreds of 10-foot races. And I'm not so sure Fleury wouldn't get there just as quickly as Ranheim in a 10-footer.
The penalized players back on the ice. McInnes getting away from Fedorov. Bangs it off the glass, gets it himself, lets the shot go. But the whistle had gone, it was offside.
And that was a very late whistle. The linesman is responsible for that because he blew the whistle well after McInnes had got over the line, and McInnes shot the puck at the time the whistle went. So the linesman can go over and apologize to the goalie.
10:30 is the time remaining in the third. Red Army leads 1-0.
Spot ringside Monday nights for the Sports Channel Pro Boxing Tour. Some of the best up-and-coming fighters looking to contend for world titles in their weight classes. Look to the Sports Channel Pro Boxing Tour Monday nights, live at 9 Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific, for explosive action and exciting fights.
This has been billed as the Friendship Tour, but these two teams have not been on the friendliest of terms tonight. Some of the previous games have been very tame in comparison. Mark Hunter steals it. To McClellan. He couldn't carry on with the puck. Fedorov. Konstantinov. Long shot, and Wamsley got a stick on it. Still inside the Calgary zone. Otto was attempting to hit McClellan with that lead pass, and Otto's a little upset with himself. He slammed his stick on the boards as he went off to the bench for missing McClellan with a potential breakaway pass.
I don't know whether it's that this Red Army team shoots a little more than the other three teams we saw play, but most of the players here at one time or another tonight have let pretty good shots go. And it used to be that the Russians had to see the whites of the goalie's eyes before they shot the puck. But both Vernon and Wamsley have had to make excellent saves on 30 or 40-foot shots.
Here's a shot from Malakoff from the point. It's kicked out and comes all the way back into the Soviet zone. Intercepted now by Neuendijk on an open wing. Roberts racing in after it. Roberts back to the line to Johansson, a long shot. And Mikhailovsky was out of his net to knock it away from Makarov. Malikin, lead pass. Here's Shiveran going in, trying to get away from Johansson. He scores!
Well, Wamsley stopped the first shot, and then it just trickled through him as he had fallen. And that was the first time the Flames have been caught by that patterned Russian long pass in the middle of the ring. There it is. Johansson leaves his feet on a gamble and loses. Now Wamsley's stick hits the puck between his legs into the net. Now there's the pass. Johansson dives at him. It doesn't do much good. He stops it. And Wamsley hits it in, I think, with his own stick after he stopped it, but he didn't know where it was. And the score is 2-0. And with the offense of the Calgary Flames as absent as it's been, 2-0 is a comfortable lead, I would say.
Drop pass, hung the top of shot, saved by Wamsley. Gilmore ahead for Hrdina. Hrdina rink wide to Priakin. Priakin shoots it into the Red Army zone. Kasatonov is back. His power play goal in the second period had stood up until the goal by Shiverev at 10:39 of the third. Bekoff bumped by McInnes. Still attempting to make a play. Now Gilmore behind his own goal. For McInnes. Rink-wide pass. And Hrdina had problems picking that one up. Here's an opportunity now. Priakin in across the line. Hrdina going for the net. Priakin couldn't get it to him. Goes back to the line. McInnes with a long shot. That's wide. Gilmore in front of that net. Spun around and then knocked the stick away from the goaltender, Mikhailovsky. And Mikhailovsky came diving out of his net without his stick to make a glove save. That comes at 11:38 of the third.
If you enjoy getting away to...
Total look at the sports scene on Sports Nightly tonight and every night following our main event. Nobody brings you a better focus on sports than Sports Channel.
Shiverev, number 29, was the player that put his team up 2-0 with about 8.5 minutes left in the game. And one place that is dangerous to stand if you're wearing a red shirt tonight out there is in front of the Soviet net. Their defensemen are very aggressive. Far more aggressive than the Calgary defense crew are.
Fleury runs into a check from Ivanov. Gusarov in his own zone, moves it ahead to Fimin, battling with Fleury along the boards. Fleury got it to Ranheim. Ranheim is tied up. Joel Otto trying to dig it out, gets it to the line. Merzen with a shot wide. McCrimmon racing in from the point to Fleury. Fleury trying to make a play against Gusarov. Gets help from McCrimmon. The puck comes into the slot area. McCrimmon turns around, gets it over to Ranheim. Scores!
Boy, that was a nice play by McCrimmon and a heads-up play by Ranheim. When Ranheim noticed that McCrimmon had pinched deep into the zone, he went back and filled in on the point for him. And then McCrimmon came up with a loose puck right here, and Ranheim has the presence of mind to jump off the point. And McCrimmon is smart enough to find him, and Ranheim goes in and puts it in, and he did that 68 times last year in Salt Lake City. So this is a good play by the rookie, Bo Ranheim, and a nice pass from Brad McCrimmon. And with about 8 minutes left, the Flames are back in the game.
Theron Fleury, the smallest player on the Flames, was in front of that net, trying to set up a screen for Ranheim as he moved in on a nice pass from Brad McCrimmon. 12:31, the time of the first Flames goal, and here comes Nieuwendyk driving for the net. Kravchuk got back to take it away from him, and Burry starts out. Burry, he is spun around, and there's a penalty coming up. Suter, I believe, will be going off.
Well, I don't think there's any question about whether that's a penalty or not. Suter got trapped on the play and was trying to catch up to Burry, and he just hooked him from behind and yanked him right off his feet. Well, there are just less than 7 minutes to go, and here's the penalty. Watch Fleury right here. You see, he's been caught, so he's chasing. And really a penalty that I think if he had a half a second longer to think about it, he wouldn't have taken. Especially when his team needs but one goal to tie this game up.
If the score is tied after regulation, there is a 10-minute sudden death overtime. 3 of the games on this friendship tour have gone into overtime. Washington won a game 8-7 and 2-1. Calgary won against the Wings of the Soviet 3-2 on Doug Gilmore's goal. Kravchuk tried to fire it through Patterson. Calgary player got a stick on it. Fedorov flipping it into the corner to Bure. Here's a shot. It's blocked, and it's dumped down the ice.
Well, the Flames, as we've said before, are a good penalty-killing team. But you can't dodge the bullet every time. And the one goal that the Soviets had, the first one, was on the power play.
Kasatonov works out now to Bekoff. Bekoff back to Kasatonov. He gives it off to Hamyatov. To Kamensky. To Hamyatov. Back to Kamensky. To Zubov. Zubov to Kasatonov. There's the shot. That hit a player in front. Bounces back to the point. Now Jamie McCowan spots an opening and clears. 50 seconds remaining in the penalty. Here comes Kamensky. Back to the line to Zubov. He winds up, fires it, and it's deflected by Rick Wamsley. Into the neutral zone. Nieuwendyk racing after that puck was spun around. Kasatonov leads the attack for Red Army. To Hamutov. Knocked down by Patterson. Brad McCrimmon gets the puck and rifles it around the boards and all the way down the ice with 20 seconds left in the penalty.
Not a good chance on this power play at all for the Soviet Red Army team. And the penalty's nearly over.
Hamutov shoots it in. Wamsley is back there to play it behind the net, and it's banked off the boards into center ice. And Suter steps out of the penalty box. Johansson shoots it in. Malikin to Kasatonov. Back to Malikin. For Kasatonov to Shibarev. Shibarev scoring the second Red Army goal. Fleury circling in the corner. Fleury took a look, indicating he was going to go cross ice, then changed his mind. I think wisely making that decision because two Soviets were getting set to anticipate that cross ice pass. 15:40 is the time gone by in the third. Red Army leading Calgary 2-1. Al McInnes from the faceoff. Trying to hit Ranheim up in the neutral zone on the fly. It was broken up by the Soviets. Otto tries to move it again. Otto is out there with Ranheim and Fleury. Fleury has it. Long shot. Bounces off a leg. Jamie McCowan dumps it in.
Well, Crisp is changing his lines up a little bit here as time is flying by on him, trying to get the equalizer.
Along the boards. Picked up now by McInnes. McInnes for Fleury. Fleury circles to get away from Chastain. Over to Joe Nieuwendyk. Nieuwendyk lets the shot go as he was checked, and it goes wide of the net. Shibarev drops it for Kostitkin. He tried to get it back to Shibarev, and Makarov brings it out for Calgary. Makarov, rink wide for Nieuwendyk. He tried to one-time it, and the puck was bouncing.
Nice play by Makarov. Certainly he can pass the puck. He seems to be able to find the open man almost every time.
He threw it blindly into the slot that time, and it's fired down the ice by Red Army. And as McCrimmon touches it, that's an icing call with 3 minutes and 3 seconds remaining in the game.
Well, Terry Crisp and his band of Calgary Flames, they fly out of here tomorrow morning to London, spend the day in London, and then on to Calgary. I think they get in about 3 o'clock on Friday, and they play Sunday night against the LA Kings.
Further to your comments about Calgary flying home on Friday, they arrive in Calgary at 4:35 Friday afternoon. Then on Sunday, they face the Los Angeles Kings. They have a game next Tuesday against Edmonton, Wednesday against Edmonton, the New York Rangers on Thursday, and on Sunday against Vancouver before opening the season on the 5th of October against Detroit. The Soviet net has knocked off its supports. Nobody has noticed it. Now a linesman moves it back onto the post.
The linesman wants to get home, I guess. He's supposed to blow the whistle when that net's off. At least in the National League they are. Strange, Don, that we haven't seen a Russian referee on this whole tour. They've been from Switzerland, they've been from Czechoslovakia, Finland, and Sweden, but none from the USSR. I wonder if that was part of the arrangement that the NHL teams made.
And for the most part, the officiating has been pretty good.
I don't think it's cost any team any of the games.
Kept in at the line by Suter. His shot knocked down by Stelnov. Just under 2 minutes remaining. Bikov. Rink-wide pass too far for Kamensky. Al McInnes chased back in his own zone by Kamensky. He stole it, and then it was knocked away from him. Good poke check by Walmsley. Lead pass for Hrdina, trying to go around Gusarov. Hrdina throws it out front. Makarov couldn't catch up with it. Back to the line. McInnes lets it go right on. Jamie McCowan at the other point, fires it in. Nieuwendyk attempting to center it with the goaltender out of position, and it bounced off the side of the net. McInnes let another rocket go. Now McCowan fires it from the point. McInnes bumping along the boards with Bure. Makarov gets it, throws it in back of the net. 1 minute and 5 seconds remaining in the third period. McInnes with another rocket just wide. He has had an opportunity late in this third period to let a couple of good shots go from the point. Here's Hrdina with a shot. Oh, what a blast high over top of the net. McInnes with another shot right on. Nieuwendyk to spun around. Penalty coming up to Kravchuk. So for the final 47 seconds of the hockey game, the Flames will be on the power play.
Well, that not only was the best flurry of offensive chances for the Calgary Flames, it was the only one that we've seen in this game. Any prolonged pressure on the Soviet team, and now they're going to get a chance to take their goaltender out with the power play, and there's the penalty. There's no question about the fact that Nieuwendyk was tripped or interfered with or held, but he embellished it slightly with 3 rollovers once he hit the ice.
So Kravchuk is in the penalty box.
There's Tikkanen, he's looking for Fetisov, and he's looking for Krutov, and some of the boys that are over the ocean practicing.
And he also said that Makarov was one of his better penalty killers in Soviet hockey.
Well, I know Makarov is going to have to get used to a lot of things, but one of the things that is really going to bother him is a 4-line operation where he doesn't play as much, and especially as much in the critical situations as he did when he played for the Soviet. Tom Watts got the map. The boys have learned the route. Now we're going to see whether they listen to the coach. They're paying big money to this number 42, and here's the time he can start to earn a little bit of it.
One of our Soviet friends, in talking about Makarov when we suggested that he would lose his Army pension, said he doesn't have to worry about money now that he's with the Calgary Flames.
Well, they'll have a set play here, but it's awful early in the season to be able to do it the way you want to do it because they haven't had a chance to practice under normal circumstances.
Fleury and McInnes are back in the point.
And you can see there's a little confusion here on the lineup. Now, don't forget the goalie's out, so they get 6 skaters here against 4 for the Red Army.
Otto will attempt to win the draw against Beekoff. He gets it to Gilmore. Gilmore let it go to McInnes, who fired it wide. They battle in the corner. Puck is loose. Beekoff bangs it off the boards and down the ice. 30 seconds remaining in the period. Fleury to Makarov. Makarov comes to the line. He loses it. Al McInnes puts it on the wing. Beekoff trying to break in. He's tied up. Puck loose in the corner. Just 12 seconds remaining in the hockey game. Lead pass for Makarov with Gilmore. Rink wide. Back to Fleury, and it bounced away from him. It was offside anyway.
But the offside was called 5 seconds after the offside occurred. And that's what the Flames are upset about. And that's the second or third time that this linesman has called it so late. And guys can get hurt. And players get upset. You should blow that thing when it's offside. You can't wait 2 or 3 seconds to see how far offside it was. And the Flames they better have a special play facing off outside the blue line with 5 seconds to go.
Well, I think all the fans at the Luzhniki Sports Palace have enjoyed this hockey game. Makarov with a long shot wide, and Red Army defeats Calgary 2-1, the first loss suffered in 4 games in the Soviet Union by the Stanley Cup champions.
Well, I think the best team won tonight. Calgary, I'm sure, and this is not an excuse, are a little weary this long road trip, and I think it showed tonight.
Red Army showing much more emotion at the conclusion of this game than some of the other teams the Calgary Flames played at any time during this tour.
Well, it's nice to beat the Stanley Cup champions. There's 20 teams getting ready to try and do it a number of times this winter in the National Hockey League, and I don't think Calgary's going to lose a lot of games.
The final score, Red Army 2, the Calgary Flames 1. We now return to Lee Zeidman and Herb Brooks at Sports Channel Control in New York.
The Soviet champion stops the Stanley Cup champion 2-1. Herb, the Flames weren't just outscored. They were outplayed by their Big Red counterpart for most of the game. I know they came on late, but it was just too little too late.
Lee, the start, we talked about stay out of the penalty box. That hurt Calgary. And we also said, watch the long pass. That will hurt you. Here's the case in point. Again, the defenseman came right around the net, threw it right up. Calgary defense were too far apart. Now, good puck control by the Soviet player. Gets his own rebound, jams it between the legs of Rick Ramsey. Now it's a 2-goal lead, and boy, that looks awful, insurmountable the way the Soviets were playing.
Well, late in the game, the Calgary Flames finally did manage to solve that young Soviet goalie, and it was one of the youngsters who scored.
Well, this is one of the 2 rookies that are expected to make this hockey club. And this guy is by the name of Paul Ranheim, a big, strong forward out of Salt Lake City, where he played last year, and he scored 68 goals, also at the University of Wisconsin. Again, he was filling in for McCrimmon. A defenseman was caught in, and he left the defensive point. Now, watch the poise of this rookie. Found that little hole, such as Kazatama did for the Soviets, and again, the goalie had no chance. This young man is going to be a candidate for the Rookie of the Year if it were not for all the Russians in the league this year.
That's right. We have to make note that while Paul Ranheim is an American rookie, Vyacheslav Fetisov, the Soviet star defenseman for New Jersey, Makarov, who is also on the Calgary club, all these ancient veterans of the Soviet teams are mere rookies in the NHL.
I think we'll have to change or put an asterisk there, about who is really a rookie. I don't know if we can call them rookies, but according to the rules, all those Russians first-year players are in effect rookies.
That's right. It's the 30-plus category for those rookies. Well, Calgary suffers its only defeat in the superpower face-off. The Flames now flying home with 3 wins out of 4 matches against the Soviet teams. The NHL still leads the best of 8-match series, though, 5-2. The Washington Capitals will close out their tour tomorrow against SKA in Leningrad, a game that will not be televised. Well, that's it for Herb and me. We hope you enjoyed Sports Channel's exclusive coverage of the superpower face-off. Right now, we'll switch back to Moscow for a final word after a regional break.
Once again, there you see the final score this evening at the Luzhniki Ice Palace. Remember, Friday, Sports Channel America and the National Federation present the high school game of the week. This week, Mayfield High battles rival Tillman High under the lights from Paducah, Kentucky. It's live and exclusive only on Sports Channel, starting at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 Pacific, Friday night. Coming up next, it's Sports Nightly with all the latest scores and highlights. This is Ron McLean for Don Whitman and Harry Neal, saying so long from Moscow of the Soviet Union. You've been watching the Superpower Face-Off on Sports Channel.